Good afternoon, everybody. This is just a quick video to go over our lab resources, just to make sure that you know how you should be studying and preparing for lab. So over here on the left, I have our Blackboard course page, and then on the right, I have our Connect homepage. You should know by now that Connect has things like your textbook, your homework, and quizzes, as well as this application, this resource called Anatomy and Physiology Revealed. And this is where your lab quiz questions and your lab practical questions are going to come from. It's from using these images. So over here in our Blackboard course page, you can scroll down to your lab module. And these first couple of labs 1 and lab 2, or rather all the labs are set up the same, right? You have your lab pages, PowerPoints, recordings. These lab pages, this is going to have the structures that you need to know. So this first page is the learning outcomes, and then the second page, required terms and concepts. You have these structures, the endocrine gland structures, and then histology slides, the micrograph images. So these are the structures that I'll be able to ask you questions about in your quizzes and your practicals. And for the first couple of labs, there's not a ton of structures. It might look like it, but there's really not that many structures on here. So for lab 1, you have those. Lab 2, our blood lab, it has even fewer structures that are required. For this one, really, it's just identifying these cells is the really important part. There's a couple of things about blood typing, but really in terms of me giving you an image and you identifying it, it's going to be these different types of cells. Once we get into lab 3 and 4, it starts to get a lot more structures. The heart lab and particularly the vessels lab. So in our heart lab, you can see that you have a lot more structures that are going to be listed, different features of the heart, some kind of external superficial features of the heart. Then it gets into the chambers, the ventricles and atria, different valves, and then even vessels that are associated with the heart. So a lot more detailed structures that you're going to need to know. So the lab video will help you with this. It will help you walk you through that. And then if there's any questions that I don't cover in there or that you need some more clarification on, you should reach out to me and ask me. But I want to show you real quick how you should be using APR over here with your lab manual. So I'm going to click on my Anatomy and Physiology Revealed. And again, if you do this, if you haven't opened this before and it gives you a pop-up about asking you to enter a code or anything, I did not give you a code, click no, you can click OK, click enter, and you'll eventually get in. Up here at the top, you're going to click the cardiovascular module. I'm going to be in all content. Yours might look slightly different than mine, but the general step-by-step is the same. The general things that you're going to be doing are the same. So let's say that for these structures of the heart, apex, base, sulci, those kind of things, I can come down here and I can pick the heart as my topic. Let's look at these features. And let's see, again, you might not have to click all of this. I have a different access, so I have to click a couple more things. Okay, so chambers. Let's start with chambers then. So you can see down here it has the atrium and the atria, the ventricles listed. So I can click on here and it will have different pictures of the atria. So left atrium, and it's highlighting that structure. What you can also do, is kind of fun, is to turn on the tags. So you can click the layers and it'll turn on the tags. And so then you can kind of use this as a quiz for yourself. Like, okay, there's something up here. This is some kind of structure. I could make a guess about it. I think it's the superior vena cava. And oh yes, that's the superior vena cava. Okay, cool. Very nice. So you can have the different layers of tags if that's how you want to study. Or like I said, it's nice to just kind of go through each thing and say, okay, that is the left atrium. What I recommend doing is taking a picture of this. You can either do a screenshot on your computer if that's the easiest way and drag and drop that into a Quizlet or a PowerPoint slideshow, some way that you can then have this image labeled as the left atrium for you to be able to study. Same thing with the ventricles, right? You can kind of see the different views of the ventricles, but it's all talking about that same chamber. And so this is how you should work through your lab manuals. You should, for each of these structures, have at least one image, if not multiple images, of those structures, right? If I want to go into internal structures, we can look at the chordae tendineae. So there's a couple of different views of them. You can see they're really just kind of dissecting different things, but it's telling you, okay, it's these little stringy bits. And now what I can also do, or what you can do, is once you've highlighted something, you can click on this little eye, the structure information, and it will give you information about these things. So that way you can kind of try to figure out, well, how am I going to remember that these specifically are the chordae tendineae? This can then help you to kind of just give you some background information, and then the structure list will have everything listed back out. So that's how you're going to be looking at the actual structures and features. I'm going to jump into, let's still in cardiovascular. Up here across the top, let's look at lab 2. So I'm going to go into my lab 2 and pull up those pages. So for this one, you need to be able to identify the following blood cells in your text and on micrographs. So to access the micrograph images, up here across the top, you can see the default is the dissection. You have the 3D model, a practice atlas, that animation tab I've shown you before, and then here's the histology. So if I click on histology, I can then see, oh, here's some of these cells listed. So if I just start with the blood smear, okay, so here's just a collection of different blood cells. I can click on erythrocytes. And so a question that you might get on a quiz is identify this blue highlighted cell, right? Or for the neutrophil, identify this large highlighted cell, the blue highlighted cell. And you would have to identify that as a neutrophil. I could also just give you a picture of a neutrophil. I could just give you this one and I could say, okay, identify that large central cell. And you should be able to identify it as that neutrophil structure. And if I click on the actual cell, I can click on information and it will give you a description. It will tell you how can you tell that this is a neutrophil. So if my video doesn't do enough, if the book doesn't do enough, here's another way for you to be able to get some bullet points on identifying specifically a neutrophil versus an erythrocyte, or a neutrophil versus an eosinophil, right? Because especially those two look very similar. They have different granular colors, they stain slightly different nuclei shapes. And then if you look at their descriptions, they're going to give you some more specifics about where they're found and what they do. So that's how you should be using your lab manuals. You should be going, use the, jump back to over here, right? Each lab is going to have the pages with the terms, the PowerPoint, and the video. You're going to have a lab practice assignment. These practice assignments aren't meant to give you every structure or to show you every structure that I could test you on. These practice assignments take the place of you actually doing the lab pages. Because if you go into these lab pages, some of them are going to have different questions or different things for you to do. Instead of me having you submit these pages, I have the lab assignments, the lab practice assignments. My advice is to do all of it. Download these lab pages, actually fill them out, answer these questions, review the required terms and concepts on APR, do the Connect practice assignment, because this is actually what's for a grade, that's your lab homework. And once you've done all of those things and you've really studied the terms and concepts, then you're ready to start taking your lab quiz. Again, the practice assignment is just that. It is just to kind of see, hey, do you know the basics of this lab? Do you understand the basics of different cells, identifying the different parts of blood, those kind of things? The pages, the PDF documents with the required terms and concepts, these are the things you're actually going to see on a lab quiz. And really it is just something like I take a screenshot of this image right here and I would say identify the blue highlighted cell. I would do something like that, or really something like I would give you this and say, okay, identify the pink cell, the most numerous cell on this slide would be the prompt for that. So I just wanted to kind of make sure that you understood how to prepare for your labs. These first couple ones, they're pretty manageable. Once we get into labs 3 and 4, you're going to get a lot more images. Lab 4 in particular has a lot of vessels that you're going to have to look at. This PowerPoint slideshow is really helpful. It doesn't look like much when you just kind of see it opened here on Blackboard, but once you actually download it, you'll be able to see that it kind of clicks. It has a click-through structure. So all of these things, all these arrows and the labels, as you click through the slide, it will populate them. So this is a really nice way to be able to see, okay, what are these different vessels, and then it has all the arteries, all the veins, and then it has a practice one. Where it will allow you to actually try to guess what these vessels are. Not for a grade, just for helping you study. So lots of things in vessels. The unique lab in this module is your Lab 8, Fluids and Electrolytes. There are no structures, required terms and structures for this lab. It's mostly just concepts related to pH and fluid balance. So there's learning objectives, but the actual terms and concepts, there are no direct terms and concepts. There is still a Lab 8 quiz. The Lab 8 quiz, and it is view instructions, the actual lab pages. So pages 103 and 106 to 109 from your lab manual. So if I open up my lab manual here, you can see, ignore the 1 through 13, they have page numbers down here. So for the Lab 8 quiz, you're going to submit page 103, so answering these questions about pH. And then you're going to get into acid-base balance and compensation. So pages 106, 7, 8, and 9. You're going to go through these different patient results and analyze them. The lab video should help you. I think I even do a couple of these with you. But if you have questions about that, just reach out to me through an email and we can maybe meet and talk about that. So that's going to be your lab quiz for Lab 8. It's just definitely a little bit different. Okay, hopefully that was helpful. If you have any other questions as you're trying to prepare for this, prepare for your practical and the quizzes, just let me know. Thank you so much.